this is real self-defense, ladies and gentlemen. This is stuff that we're very passionate about, and this is stuff that you can easily add into your martial arts training.
Usually when you let them know that you see them in a manner that's neutral and crisp, that will usually stop them, and they'll wait to choose somebody else.
So today we're going to chat about pre-attack indicators and pre-incident indicators.
Yeah. We've talked about pre-attack indicators in the past, but it might be maybe we should just call it like, not saying this would be the title, but we're really going to be talking about some of the aspects of behavioral self-defense. We've gotten more detailed about it in the past. We're going to sort of touch on a lot of concepts around behavioral self-defense. Obviously, it's a really deep topic. That's what my background is. My background is behavioral sciences and neuropsychology, and human performance, blah, blah, blah. So I really geek out about this stuff.
Nice. Cool. Sweet.
And I think right now, with the direction that the world is going, this is going to be really important that people learn how to pick up on the behavioral telegraphing, right, the telegraphing, and it's known as intent, what their intent is way ahead of time. So you've got so you give yourself as much time as possible, even though the majority of the time these are hidden until the last moment.
Yeah.
If you know what to look for, right? If you know what to look for, now you can get your spidey senses going. And one of the things to think about with these pre-incident indicators is that you don't want to necessarily think about the fact that you're absolutely right. It's just about being ready.
Yeah.
And making the assumption, if they're showing any of these things that we're going to talk about, just make the assumption that they mean malintent, right? You don't have to overreact, but this just gets your attention and has you at the ready and thinking about I call it what your first 5 moves are going to be.
Okay.
Right. At all times. Like, okay, I've been picking up on this guy. He's showing this, this, and this. What's going on around me, et cetera, et cetera. So it doesn't matter if it actually materializes. What matters is that you're primed and prepared, right?
Nice. Yeah, and I think that's super important. Like yesterday, I was doing a corporate kind of self-defense thing for an hour and a half. And the first 20 minutes, I said, you guys are probably not going to remember any of the physical skills that we do in the later half, but everything that we're going to talk about now. And it was just interesting, like going around the circle and just, okay, what would you do if, a guy came up to you, he approached you, and it was so funny watching the eyeballs open, watching the brain turn. Like, I've never even had these thoughts before, Kevin. Like, I don't know what I do. Do I punch? Do I not punch? Do I block? Do I keep my distance? Do I run? Right. And, do I kick him in the groin? There was a groin kicker there. He just loved it. Right. And it was like, all these people have all these preconceived notions of what they think they would do. But I would say the majority of the class had never even thought about it. Never even thought about it.
The majority of martial artists haven't either.
True.
Not in this context.
Yeah.
Right. They've thought about it in a vacuum. They've thought about it in the context of sport.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or of an art or a tradition.
Yeah.
And this is different. That's we call decontextualized.
Yeah.
And they are almost no martial artists, and especially firearms people, are seriously trained to in these types of things. They'll talk about situational awareness all day long.
Yeah.
But they won't talk about the specifics of it. They'll talk about the color codes, and they'll talk about some generalities, and they'll have some platitudes, right?
Yeah.
And some half measures, and oh wow, look, I know about situational awareness, but without actually knowing the specific details for what to actually look for. And they don't train it. They don't practice it. They don't put it into application in class.
Do you feel that's because they understand that it's like more mental training, right, at the beginning? And in their mind, they're like, if I can figure it out mentally, I can do it. But without actually having role playing, like I
Yeah.
feel like they're doing themselves a massive disservice, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the amount, this is called ecological dynamics, when you're having an actual interaction and
Yeah.
you're actually picking up on what those cues are and you're making decisions
Yeah.
on the fly and combining those decisions with your kinetic skills and blah, 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 right?
Mhm.
That's the science behind why that's so important. It's kind of like this. Let me throw out a quick analogy before we get into this, right? My background's in neuropsychology and human performance. So if I were to give you 10 of the best thick books on bodybuilding in the world,
Yeah.
and I had you read them all and memorize them, right, for rote,
Yeah.
how much bigger would your muscles get?
Yeah. Right.
Right? You have to put it into application. And the same is true with the muscle of your mind. Then, meaning like the literal neural kinetic pathways that are being burned into your cerebellum and other centers of the brain that are responsible for actual application of this. When you do that, you're developing an unconscious incompetence. You're
Mm.
developing that you're actually fanning the flames of your own Dunning-Kruger effect,
Yes.
right?
True.
Where people of
Yeah.
low ability, they think, well, I have all this knowledge, so I have ability. No, 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 no. People of low ability suffer from an illusory superiority. They think they're
Mhm.
better than they are,
Yeah.
and a metacognitive inability to recognize it, meaning they can't see how bad they actually are. So
Yeah.
they've actually set themselves up for a bigger failure in real world. We don't want the failure to happen in real world. We want the failure to happen in practice so we can work those things out ahead of time.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
at least for me, what I've noticed is it can go two ways, right? When you do role playing exercises, is one, they just goof off too much and they don't take it serious. Or two, they just feel super uncomfortable, like actually doing some role playing that they're like, well, I don't know. I don't know. But like anything, it just takes time, right? You got to get better at it. You got to feel more comfortable, right? Like I remember when you said, okay, um, when you're going home and you're teaching, your students as Kevin, like there's a fine line between like don't let them goof off too much, don't give them so much free reign that they can goof off, but you got to kind of reel it in and put some seriousness in it
Yeah.
because it's real and you're
Yeah.
training for a possible life or death situation. So but people feel really uncomfortable doing that sometimes, and
Well,
I think
if they feel uncomfortable doing it in a sanitized and controlled environment, they're
that
going to feel far more uncomfortable when it's happening for real.
yeah,
That's the point. That's the
exactly.
point.
Yeah. Yeah, I
All
think
right. So
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. That little bit of delay sometimes
Yeah.
we interrupt we interrupt each other, right?
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
getting
don't get me
better.
wrong. I am rude. I'm a rude American,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
not.
And I'm the polite Canadian, eh?
Well, maybe I am that rude.
No, you're not rude.
All right, the first one. The first one. Well, first let's talk about pre-attack indicators first.
Okay.
Pre-attack indicators are usually going to be happening when closer proximity,
Yeah.
when the unknown potential threat or suspect has positioned themselves in a closer proximity. There are 212 known pre-attack indicators. That's too many
Wow.
for us to cover. It's too many
Wow.
for people to learn. It's the main ones that are important.
Mhm.
They'll usually happen in clusters. Now, you don't have to be in denial. If they're showing these pre-attack indicators, violence is happening. The body doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So they're trying to conceal their intent, but the body is telling you what their actual intent is, right?
Mhm.
So some things like clenching of their jaw,
Yeah.
right? If their blink rate increases, if they're blinking a lot, or if they're not blinking at all, those
Mhm.
are some other ones.
Yeah.
If their shoulders go up and they're hunching their shoulders, if they're making fists or any of these things together, if
Yeah.
they're rubbernecking, if they're looking around, if they're touching their face, it's called grooming. That's
Yeah, that's
another
a
one.
new one. I hadn't heard of that one before since our last podcast. So
Yeah. They sway back and forth. That's
yeah.
one. Um, Something called, when they verbalize, called monosyllabic verbalization. So they're talking in one syllables. or they're echoing back what you're saying, that shows that they're in a heightened state. They're in a state of fight,
Yeah.
right? Um, Usually the attack will come from the direction in which they're shifting from.
Yeah.
So if they shift from their right, that's probably where the attack is going to come from, et cetera, et cetera. So there's about 10, 11, 12 of what some of the top ones are. There's
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
But if the audience can just get familiar with those, and when you're training with your partner, have them show these things so that you can learn to pick up on them and integrate them into your self-organization and attunement to violence. That's a really important thing. You
Nice.
don't be careful that you're not getting caught in denial. So that's usually when people are closer to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Not always. There's no absolutes to these. But then we've got the pre-incident indicators. Those are pre-attack indicators, pre-incident indicators, meaning they're showing behavioral cues that shows that they're up to something.
Okay.
And it usually means malintent. Like
Okay.
example, with this last attempted thing that tried to happen to Trump. I don't know if like what I can say
Yeah.
to,
That was perfect. That was perfect.
okay, the attempted thing that almost happened.
Yeah.
If you watch the videos of the guy who did the thing
Yeah.
and you'll see pre-incident indicators all over the place. Like they're just right. But also, so the audience knows I'm also an executive protection agent, so we have to know what these things are.
Yeah.
And I was a bouncer for a really long time in Hollywood and some high profile places. And we'll talk about some stories around that.
Yeah.
But you get really good at recognizing these things when you're dealing with this many people in public all the time.
Yeah.
So the first one is if someone's showing a super high level of interest in you or in other people, like for whatever reason, they're like super locked on and they're like overly unnaturally interested in what you're doing.
Okay.
And then when you look at them, when they do conspicuous ignoring and they look away, so they're really super focused on you. But then when you draw attention by looking at them, letting them know that you see them, which is really important, they
Yeah.
look away from you.
Hmm.
You know, like here's a story from me on this that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Like when I'm around really young college girls, they're like super into me. And then when it's unnatural, unnatural interest. And then when I'm like, hey, what are you staring at me for? They look away, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that
But
happens all the time. And then you wake up, right?
yeah, something like that. Something like that.
Something like that. Something like that. But yeah, no, like jokes aside, like I can think of so many moments there of because I'm always like I love people watching. I've loved people watching
Yeah,
ever since I was a little kid, right? And you know, we
yeah,
used to just go in Calgary, it's called the C train, so it's basically just like a metro, right? Or a subway, but above ground. And we would go and we just sit on there. And like I'd literally have dates when I was younger where we just go sit and we just people watch. And it's funny because when we're watching them, then all of a sudden they look at us, we're like, oh shit, right? But it's just
yeah,
because we found interest in it. And I
yeah,
think that's the key word there is why are they interested in you so much?
yeah. That's one of the main ones. Like, look at who's looking at you.
Yeah, yeah,
And usually when you let them know that you see them in a manner that's neutral and crisp,
yeah.
that will usually stop them and they'll wait to choose somebody else, unfortunately,
Mm,
who doesn't know what to look for and doesn't know how to handle that.
okay.
So that's a big one
Yeah, for sure.
right there.
Well,
Um,
and I think it's funny because to you and I, that would seem like common sense, right? But I think what we're trying to do at these podcasts is just give people that maybe have never let these thoughts enter their mind,
yeah,
just give them kind of and just tiptoe the door open a little and say, hey, like, are you being more aware of this?
yeah.
And that's
It's, a,
really our goal, right?
it's something that has to be practiced.
Yes.
Going, I don't recommend going to unsafe places. There's a really big name out there. No,
Yeah.
I'm serious. There's a
Yeah.
really big name out there who says, I trained so that I can go to unsafe neighborhoods so I can go to my favorite restaurants. I'm not kidding. There was
What?
this person was, I was on a podcast a few years ago, and this person went on the episode before mine. And I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but I said, anybody who listens to that or anybody who says that, you
Oh,
need, like, if you need to be, and I'm talking about a big name that's highly respected.
of course.
And they're usually the people that are the worst, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of cognitive biases that happen there. And one of them is called the halo effect,
Yeah.
where everything that somebody says, they're put up on a pedestal and it's gospel. And like, I was just like, I literally said it out loud when during my episode. I'm like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. We're practicing conflict avoidance at all costs.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
straight up irresponsible.
Well, and it's especially like when you sit in that social media role, right? Or podcast role, whatever, where you have that influence and you're choosing to give terrible advice,
Yeah.
like just because you have an inflated ego or something along those lines, like, wow, that's actually dangerous. I hope, well, no, I don't
There's
hope.
more.
Oh,
There's
of course.
there's a lot more where that comes from.
Yeah.
The next one is when people are always looking through like a bag or a briefcase as a they're it's called creating business. They
Oh, okay.
create business for themselves to do so they look like they're up to something. Or if it
Interesting.
looks like they're on their cell phone, but they're not really on their cell phone, they're
Yeah,
pretending
yeah,
like they're on their cell phone. But usually they're reaching into some type of a bag or a briefcase or a
yeah,
satchel or something like that. And
yeah,
they're unnaturally continuing to go through it. And you've made an observation of them. You're like, how long is this person going to search for something in their bag? But
yeah,
the other thing that's important for you to pay close attention to is what's going to come out of that bag.
yeah,
Is that going to be a firearm? Is that going to be some kind of a weapon? Is it going to be some kind of a detonation device? Like
yeah.
what's going to come out of that bag? What's going on with their hands?
Hmm.
So that's going to get your attention. It could be a combination of any of these things. The one before that, right?
Yeah,
And they're looking through a bag and they think they're being clever and they're pretending like they're not paying attention to you until you get close enough for them to launch an attack.
yeah.
um that's another one to pay close attention to.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I like.
I'll be with friends oftentimes and I'll see things that they're like that they've learned now. They're like, Todd sees something.
Yeah, yeah,
Todd's on to something. Todd sees something. Then they might say something to me like, what should we do? I'm like, just step outside for a little while.
yeah, yeah.
You
Well, it's
know,
funny. It's funny you say that, right? Because as time goes on, whoever you're with, especially close friends that you get to see with, right? They don't take it as disrespect anymore because, like, I think I was saying, before, it's like if I'm out to lunch with Liv, like my partner, and she's in the middle of a conversation, my eyes peer over somewhere. Like we were out for breakfast yesterday, my eyes peer over, I perk up a little bit, I kind of look over, and she stops immediately. She hates being interrupted. She stops immediately and she looks and she's like, we're good. I'm like, yeah, we're good. It was just weird. And she's like, okay, whatever. And she goes back to her conversation, where in the first couple of years she's like, do you mind? And I'm like, I'm still listening. I am so here, but
yeah.
my eyes are always scanning.
Yeah.
Right.
And you
So,
bring up a really good point. If something doesn't seem right, if it seems out of place,
yeah.
trust your intuition. If it doesn't seem right, it's probably not right.
Yeah.
Trust that gut instinct. That's a whole nother podcast, right?
Right.
Trust
Right.
that gut instinct. If something's not right, if it gets your attention for a reason. Hey, do you remember that morning we were at breakfast before training? And I
Yeah.
said to you, I don't mean to, it might come off like I'm being rude if I keep looking toward the door, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't mean it to be that way. It's just a trained in habit.
Yeah.
And that can be something if you're new with somebody or even not, just
Yeah.
I'll remind my wife.
Yeah.
We had our 14th anniversary yesterday.
Congrats. That's awesome.
And no, thanks. And I'll still on September 11th. That's the only way I can remember our anniversary.
Hey, at least you got an easy one.
Yeah. Um, so I'll still say to her, babe, I hope you don't think I'm being rude
Yeah.
if my eyes wander,
Nice.
I'm this college girl over here. She keeps staring at me.
What?
I'm like, hey, it's not my fault.
It's
Like, I
not my
mean,
fault you married a hunk.
look at this. Can you blame her?
Speaking of inflated egos, no, just kidding. Yeah, no, but that's a good idea, right? Is just to continue to maintain good relationships, right? Of just having that quick conversation, being emotionally intelligent enough, showing empathy, and being like, hey, just so you know, like I don't want you to take this personally because I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. This is just who I am, and I think that those moments are really, really important.
Yeah,
Like you said, especially with new people, but even reminding others, right, that have known you for a while, right? Like it makes
there's sorry, it's that delay. Sorry about that.
all good, all good.
Um, there are those of us. I feel like I could really wage a really strong scientific argument for what I'm about to say, and the topic called epigenetics.
Okay.
If the audience is interested, look up the scientific work of Bruce Lipton, a
Okay.
very famous bioscientist. That there are those of us, there's a percentage of us in the population, 2 to 3% of us who have it in our DNA to be protectors. I call us the protector class or the defender class.
Yeah.
And we can't not. We're like the sheepdogs.
Yeah.
We can't, it's just how we're made. We're just defending the flock at all times.
Yeah.
You're not going to, the sheepdog shouldn't feel bad, right? The
Yeah.
working dogs, the protector dogs, or donkeys, right? Donkeys are protective that way.
Yeah.
Like I have donkeys. That's how I know, right?
Yeah.
Kevin's met them, Blossom
They're
and Boo Boo.
awesome. They're super
They're,
cool. They're super
they're
cool.
amazing. But it doesn't make them bad
Yeah.
just because, right? And they're not being rude. It's just how they're made. If there's a predator or a threat in the area, they're locked onto it, and they know
Yeah.
that that's what they're bred for. They're made to protect.
Yeah.
And those in the audience, like, don't. If you're a protector, the society right now wants to demonize you,
True. Very true.
right? And they want to diminish you.
Yeah.
So be bold. This is what you are made to do. You are made to be a part of that protector and defender class.
Yeah.
And so some of these things are going to probably sound pretty natural and intuitive to you, but now you can codify it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a nice way for people to kind of, I don't want to say justify their actions, but it is a bit of an excuse, right? Of like, I used to feel really bad, right, when I was doing it. And it because I was doing it so much post-military. And I would say if I was on a pendulum, I was too far of an extreme on the pendulum, right?
Yeah.
Because one, I'm in Canada, it's fairly safe. It's getting more unsafe as time goes on. And we both know why that's happening, but that's another conversation. Right. And then it was like there wasn't as much of a threat as I thought there was. Right.
Yeah.
So it was getting to a point though where I was like, man, I need to be like way less aggressive. And I started letting the pendulum come back here. And I didn't feel normal. I didn't feel like myself anymore. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna find a balance. There's got to be a balance here
Yeah.
somewhere where I can still be a protector, I can still be empathetic, but like I used to carry 4 knives on me at all times. Right. And now I'm just down to one.
Yeah.
Right. But it's
Probably
there's
it's probably more effective anyway. When we start diving in, when we start diving into the realities of weapon retention,
yeah.
right? That's another conversation
You
too.
want to know why
But
it
yeah,
was for?
what was that?
Do you want to know why it was for?
Why?
Because we don't have guns. So I needed
Because
a long range knife.
why don't we give the real answer, Kevin? You are overcompensating.
Maybe a little. Well, it's not like a okay.
I'm just
For
saying.
compensation, I'm gonna call
I'm
out
just
my
saying,
guru on this one,
Kevin.
right? I pull
It's
out
an
my
opportunity
right?
for you to confront your shadow self, Kevin.
Right. I'd pull it in front of my guru, Joel Hungar. He's awesome. Make sure you guys check him out, right? I pull out my like legal 4-inch utility tool, right? And he's out in BC in Cranbrook, a small town, and he always goes for big long walks with his dogs. And he's like, ching, look at this thing. And I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, do you have a big truck too that's lifted on like 35-inch tires? But yeah, Thanks for that. That's nice of you.
You're welcome. I have all kinds of inappropriate jokes in my head, but I'll spare the audience for now.
Awesome. We'll
If
chat.
the audience wants more Todd inappropriate jokes, please leave a comment below, and then we'll be sure to fulfill your wishes.
Yeah. Leave a comment below for sure, because my PR people will not let that shit slide.
Whoa, boom! The self-defense industry is broken, wouldn't you agree? Have you gone from martial art to martial art looking for the responses that you need to have for a self-defense situation? Well, I spent 35 years training in martial arts. I acquired 7 different black belts to find out that when I pressure tested their shit, it didn't work. So what did I do? I had to come up with my own system. Make sure to check it out at budobrothers.com. Build the confidence you need to stay safe.
Okay, sweet.
All right.
So yeah,
You got more? You got more you want to say there?
moving on.
The next one. Look for people who appear to be very uncomfortable in places where everyone else is happy and carefree.
Interesting.
Especially if they're sweating. If they're physically sweating, right? This is a psychophysiological response, a sympathetic response.
Yeah.
If they're physically sweating and they look like they're hot,
Wow.
and they look really uncomfortable in a place where everyone else is being happy and carefree.
Interesting. Wow.
You know,
because like I sweat like a mofo. Like, yeah, I'm always sweating. I wonder if people.
Well, there you have it. We keep an eye on Kevin wherever you're at.
Don't trust the goat. Yeah.
But like, for example, the Trump thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
Before that event that took place, and the guy who was at the event that did things that weren't nice.
Yeah.
If you watch the behaviors of the others that were there, everyone was in a festive mood.
Yeah.
Right. And he wasn't. And he looked really uncomfortable. He was too far away to see whether or not he was sweating. I'm sure he was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
At the micro level, there's actually a galvanic skin response that happens. That's a part of a polygraph. That's another conversation too.
Okay.
But you can see that he doesn't look happy. He doesn't look, he's not blending at all.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just something that shows that he was undertrained.
Yeah.
For what he was going to do. Not that he wasn't trained, he was, but undertrained for what he was going to do, which is a clue of some other things that we can't talk about on here.
Yeah.
But that's something else to look for. Some of the people who look uncomfortable, they're nervous, or they're uncomfortable in an environment where most people are feeling happy. And that can be combined with the other pre-incident indicators.
Nice. Yeah.
That we've talked about.
Yeah, it seems like they all kind of
tied
together. It seems like they all kind of tied together. And like what I'm doing in my mind right now is, okay, here's one red flag, here's another red flag, here's another red flag. But they can all be like orange flags, right? But once they start connecting and
adding up.
Yeah.
Yep. Mental note, mental note, mental note, mental note, move on, mental note, move on. Okay, here's another red flag. Here's another red flag. We've all had experiences in life where we ignored red flags because we were projecting our good intentions onto bad people, and then they took advantage of that, right?
Wow.
So we're telling you don't ignore them.
Yeah.
Another little rule that I have that I teach is I practice who's the suspect in the group. No matter where I'm at. It could be a group of 5 friends. Kevin's always a suspect, right? Because he's always sweating,
Sweating, looking
awkward. If I'm in a group of college girls, like, who's the suspect? No, but seriously, that can be a really interesting thing. And we do that in some of our training where we'll have somebody in the group that will be an attacker, and we'll tell whoever is the defender, pick the person in this group who you think is going to be the attacker.
Nice.
And then we'll create an exercise and see if you're right. And like I'd say 60% of the time, they could pick somebody out of a group of 10 people for who the attacker was going to be. There's just those subtle subliminal cues that they're putting off. And even if you haven't picked the right person, you're still primed and ready.
Well, and I think that's a huge part there is all you're doing is again opening up that door and saying, "Hey, just start looking for these little things and you'll start picking up on them more and more and more." Right? It's
Yeah.
not like you have to change who you are. It's not like you have to be super paranoid all the time, but it's just start to be more aware, right? And when we're talking about situational awareness, this is what we're talking about. It's not in we haven't got to the environmental stuff yet, but it's more just looking at what people are about, right? And starting really to see the
Yes.
personality types, right? But just watching them, watching other people, not being lost in your phone, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So
100%. When I bounced at some really dangerous places.
yeah.
When I was making my way through my career in Hollywood, and I did have one for the audience that doesn't know that, writer, producer, director in Hollywood for 10 years. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. When I
Yeah.
was making my way up, I was a bouncer in Hollywood and head of security. And I was really good at picking people out ahead of time when they were coming through the front door.
Oh yeah.
And I would alert, you just after a while, first of all, I'm a pretty intuitive person. I'm
Yeah.
an empath.
Yeah.
So I would notify the rest of the staff, the security staff, keep an eye out for this description, and here's the crew that he's with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it was women too. Here's the and they off the end, and they're like, "How did you know?" Like
Yeah.
you all, it's like you almost always know who the trouble is going to be,
Yeah.
and you just get good at picking out who these people are after a while. And other things that I would do, just to give this as an example of how you could use, not literally do what I'm going to do, but a way to practice conflict avoidance. I would actually go up to that group right away in the night, and I would make contact with them so I knew who they were, but
Yeah.
I didn't approach them in a way as like
Yeah.
I'm watching you. I
Yeah.
would do the opposite and say, "Hey, can I buy you guys around? First
Yeah.
round's on me tonight."
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah, first round's on me." And then I would say, "If you guys have any trouble tonight, you let me know. I
Yeah.
got you." And you know
Nice.
what they would do?
Yeah.
They would become an extension of our security staff.
Hmm. Smart man.
They were looking out for us. And so
Hmm.
instead of channeling that energy toward that aggression toward other people, they were channeling that aggression towards something that was positive.
That's awesome. Well, and those become the tricks of the trade, right? I know what a lot of police officers that do something very similar is it's don't come in being aggressive, don't come in, like
Yeah.
I see you, right? It's like, hey, like we're here together because I don't know what one of my biggest pet peeves is when they're like, okay, if a bouncer does this to you, right, then you can do this to get out of him. Like, why is the bouncer doing that to you? Maybe you should get out of the
Are they the only bouncer there?
yeah, right.
I'm
Oh
sure if that bouncer's doing that to you and you try to counter them, if you try and do something else, that's probably not going to go very well for you.
yeah. Or you messed up and you shouldn't be teaching people how to get out of bouncing holds, right? Or yeah, it's oh man, this industry is so messed up, Todd. It's so messed up. The shit that you and I have seen over the last, 30 years is just unbelievable.
That's why we've gone rogue.
Yeah, very
So
true.
IDS, I can only speak for myself. I don't want to speak for you, but IDS has gone rogue. Like we have officially said, we're not a part of the industries.
Yeah,
We're not a part of the self-defense industry. We're not a part of the firearms training industry because it's so out of control.
yeah,
And for the audience, the people who seem the most credible probably aren't.
probably. Probably.
They've just
Yeah,
really refined how they present and package themselves.
yeah.
Trust me when I say this to you. Trust me when I say this to you. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So yeah, I would do that as a
I
way of yeah, and I've done that before, like in real world. Just another example. Um, this isn't an exact parallel to it, but when people open carry in the United States,
mhm.
I support their right to do it. I'm not here to poo-poo that at all. It's a bad tactical idea,
Yeah,
but it makes a lot of other people in the environment very uncomfortable who
for
don't
sure.
know what's up. So what I'll do is I'll go make contact with them. the safest place for me to be is next to them. And the
That's true.
safest place for everyone else to be is next to them. Even if I'm armed and way more skilled than them with my handgun, I don't
Yeah.
want to get in a volley with them. I want to be right next to them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I want to go make contact with them in a way that's positive. I'll shake their hand, say I'm a 2A supporter, blah, 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 support
Yeah.
the right what you're doing.
Yeah.
People might be a little nervous right now. And so I just want to come over and let you know I'm cool with, you know, and I'm making an assessment of what their minds, what's happening with their headspace.
Mm.
And I'm picking up on pre-incident and pre-attack indicators while I'm interviewing them and finding out what's going on.
Yeah.
So one, I'm right next to them. If things do go bad,
Yeah.
I've made contact so they know that there's somebody there who
Yeah.
could stop them.
Yeah.
And three, I'm making an immediate assessment and making everyone else in the environment more comfortable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and if they did have plans because they've made contact, chances are good they're going to abort whatever their plans were. So for the audience, there are some strategies there. If you know how to do this,
Yeah.
there are some strategies here that you can employ to avert. That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
To avert a violent incident before it takes place.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes, especially, you know, if that person is having a really bad day and they're just looking for that one trigger, that one person to piss them off, if you go up to them and you befriend them almost, right? Maybe that will change their entire course of action or their mindset for that day. You know,
Might change their whole, it might change their whole life.
it could, it very well could.
Somebody actually cares. You might be surprised, you know, I was a therapist for 15 years. You might be surprised at what comes out during that time. Like, you're talking to me, do you actually care? Like, yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I care. Is there something going on? Something you want to talk about? Let's go
Yeah.
outside and let's go outside. Let's have a little conversation. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and then my wife knows usually when I do that, if things start to get weird, she's gonna vacate and get on the phone with 911
Nice.
right away.
Yeah.
Get
Well,
to a safe place.
I just want to make it clear to the audience, like Todd is heavily trained. He feels very comfortable doing this, right? We're not telling you to go and do this. We're just
No,
giving you a viable option of like,
an,
hey,
an
if you have the
example,
skills. Yes, exactly.
an example that they can reinvent.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or even practice role playing at home or something like that, where it's just making you feel more comfortable and confident about yourself. Because, you know, if you've watched some of the other podcasts, we talk about being a hard versus a soft target. If you go and you approach this person, they're going to see you as a hard target, not as like a target that they're going to shoot, but just more so as like somebody that they don't want to mess with, somebody that just isn't easily taken, you know, away from
Advantage of.
Exactly.
If you're relaxed and you're confident and neutral and crisp and self-assured, right? And you're not escalating, you're not overasserting yourself, you're not being authoritative, and you're not being submissive either, just very matter of fact and respectful.
Nice. Yeah.
That'll take you a really long way in a situation like that. And
sure.
when in doubt, you know, Kevin made a great point. Maybe that's not the best idea for most people.
Yeah.
Or just leave.
Yeah. Yeah. The easiest thing, the best self-defense.
Just leave.
Yeah.
Just leave. Right. If it feel like it's don't try to be a hero, right? Just leave.
Well, and it's funny you say that because like one of my students, he goes down to Texas quite a bit. And he's like, I remember the very first time I was down there, Kevin, he's like, it was so weird in Walmart picking up some groceries and, you know, Buddy's strapped with a Colt 45, right? It's like, he was so blown away by it. He's like, I never left that Walmart so fast, but it was just to everybody else, it was normal. But to him, it wasn't. And he just didn't feel comfortable in this situation, born and raised in Canada. Right. So he was just like, I got it out of there as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
And that was what he felt comfortable with. And, you know, that's what we are trying to encourage more than anything. Like, choose your own rules of engagement. If you have the confidence, excellent. If you don't have the confidence, role play at home so that maybe you will build up your confidence. Because one day, if push comes to shove, that could actually save your life.
Well, if you're going to Texas, I mean, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Right. It really, that's a cultural thing. That's a whole,
I've never been.
even parts of Minnesota, actually, where that type of open carry is a super common part, like northern Minnesota.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
more common part of the culture of northern Minnesota.
Interesting.
Not more common, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but you still see open carry around here fairly regularly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a good idea,
Yeah.
but
In
whatever.
your from your tactical point of view. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the limitations of live fire and the restrictions of most live fire ranges, we've realized we have to do things differently, and we want to do things differently. We take a principle-based, integrated, and holistic approach to our training that includes pistol craft, weapons-based combatives, as well as soft self-defense skills and education, designed specifically with the citizen defender in mind, in a way that can be done anywhere by anyone. So how do we do that? What does that look like? It's not really something I can explain to you. It's something I have to show you. So stick with us, and together, we'll make the world a safer place.
The next one is the person who's constantly repositioning themselves in a way that seems suspicious, and they're slowly repositioning themselves in a way that's getting closer and positioning themselves to you. So if someone's gotten your attention and they're at a distance,
Yeah.
but they're not really displaying a lot of other stuff. Maybe there's like one red flag and you're not quite sure,
Okay.
but you see them starting to conspicuously kind of reposition themselves closer to you.
Interesting.
That's a big red flag.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to create that white space. So the white space means the ideal white space is more than 25 feet.
Okay.
Or so you either want to be right next to them or 25 feet away. So you're managing that white space at all times.
Yeah.
So, and that's not really always realistic when you're moving through the world, by the way. We see all these comments, right? Don't let anybody get close enough to you, especially if you have a firearm. What's wrong with you? Don't you know what you're doing? Yeah, because we go through life 25 feet away from people all the time, don't we? Like
Exactly.
what kind of delusional moron are you?
Yep.
Seriously, come on.
It's so true though, right? Because like in Canada, so Calgary is like one of the fairly biggest cities, or I think it is like top 5 or top 10 or whatever. In small towns, people don't like it when you're within 5 feet.
Yeah.
Like they don't like it. They're like, can you back up a little? And this is like, I'm talking pre-COVID days, right? Like, then people are like, hey, like, you're too close, man. Like, back up. And they have no problem telling you as well.
It's their
But
personal space. Yeah.
exactly. When I went to Hong Kong and to a lot of the European nations, space is nothing to them. They have no problem with you being right next to them, bumping shoulders, like at all. Like Hong Kong was it took a long time for me to walk around less nervous.
I bet you stuck out, didn't you?
No, actually, I had the same mindset, right? Because Hong Kong isn't actually China, right? A lot of people think it is, right? So Hong Kong is its own independent nation. Well, for now, who knows, right? But it's actually filled with a lot of expats, right? So tall Chinese, Japanese people, lots of white people everywhere. It was really interesting. I had the same preconceived notion of I'm going to be a giant there, and only like 2 people asked to take my picture because I towered over them, right? But my head was hitting everywhere. Like it was built like it was for China, but yeah.
I have the same problem when I'm around a lot of college girls. They always want to get really close to me.
Maybe pheromones. There it is.
And they want to get their picture with me all the time too.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. You know what I mean?
See how confident Todd sounds in that? That's exactly what we're talking about in the training industry. If they sound super confident and they're not humble, this is why you don't trust what they're saying.
I'm just speaking the truth.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you are.
I'm just speaking the truth, Kevin. And maybe that makes you feel a little insecure, huh?
Oh, maybe. Maybe. Right on, man. Awesome.
Then my wife says, he's married. Bye.
But oh, there it is. Nice. Love it. Marissa's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah, my wife is awesome. The next one is when people are really aloof and they seem unnaturally uninterested. I'm actually reading right now. This one. They seem uninterested, bored. And people around them don't seem like they're comfortable with them. People are trying to watch their body language. If people are kind of leaning away from them unconsciously, or people seem like they're kind of like, what's up with that guy? Or they kind of like backing up or wanting to, everyone else is sort of evenly balanced in their proximity except that person.
Yeah.
That when people are uncomfortable around them, that's another one to watch out for.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
And that one can be more common than you probably think.
Well, I think that would be one that would be so subtle sometimes, but unless you're looking for it, you won't necessarily catch it. But I'm a big believer of like not energy, like no touch knockout thing, but when somebody walks in a room, there's a presence that comes in. You know, my girlfriend's always talking about, she's like, Kevin, when you enter a room, people look not because you're 6'4" and dangerous, but because there's this energy that you have about you.
A vibe.
Yeah, a vibe, exactly. Energy.
That's a very real thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also for us as defenders, it's important that we're monitoring what our vibe is.
Yes.
There are some people who I know that are natural defenders.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, hey man, soften your vibe a little bit.
Yeah. Hey.
Your vibe is too hard. You know what I mean? Your vibe is too hard. And soften your vibe and blend a little. It doesn't make you less dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes you, it'll make you more effective, actually. There's a time and a place to know when to harden and puff up your vibe, and a place to soften it.
Yeah.
As long as you're not going to put yourself in a position of a submissive vibe.
Nice.
Like when Kevin and I go out, like we'll go stand by the bar and we'll put out the vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because we go to the bar so often.
I don't even drink. That's a line from Dumb and Dumber. Who knew the reference?
There it is. Yeah.
Let's go stand over by the bar and put out the vibe.
Put out the vibe. Put out the vibe. Yeah, you would definitely be Jim Carrey in that one.
Would I be?
Well, actually, maybe not. Maybe you are more Jeff Daniels-ish.
Would I be? My favorite Jeff Daniels, there's so many great scenes. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Everyone's, right? But do you remember when Jeff Daniels went on the date with the hot chick and they got into a snowball fight?
Yeah. He just unloads on her.
Yeah. She like makes this nice little cute little snowball and goes, yeah. And he like packs it and like, she blasts her in the face.
Yeah. Soften your vibe, Jeff.
That's sort of what it means, yeah. Yeah. Or like when Jim Carrey put the laxative in his coffee and tells him to drink it. That'll soften your vibe.
Yo, he'll soften a lot of things. Awesome, man. Awesome. Sweet.
And
How many more we got?
Are those movies going to come back? We need those politically incorrect movies. That's what comedy is.
Yes, I agree.
Bring comedy back, man.
Yeah. They still love it. But
yeah, secretly.
Yeah. Well, secret to some, not to others. So how many more you got there?
Well, how many more you got there, eh?
E. I didn't even say A.
You said a boot. You said a boot like 4 times.
I definitely never said a boot, and I never said roof.
The next one is look for displays of a lot of bravado and bluster.
Okay.
They tend to be overdressed and looking at their watch or some fixed point, never making eye contact with people, especially you. So they've got a lot, the type, right?
Yeah.
They've got a lot of bravado and bluster, and then then to couple with that, to bundle with that, like they're always looking at their watch, kind of like what people would do looking at their phone.
Yeah.
Or going through a bag. That would be another example of that, combined with a lot of over the top bravado. They're
Okay.
loud. They're getting your attention. That shows that they're nervous.
Mm,
They're nervous about what they're about to do
yeah.
or what their intentions are, right?
Yeah. I think that one's very, very easy for people to picture that person.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then another one, just to throw another one out right away, is
Yeah.
someone who isn't dressed like everyone else is dressed. They're out of place.
Mm.
They aren't blending.
Hot
They aren't.
summer day and they're wearing like a trench coat or something.
That would be a really obvious one.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, for those of you who do, I don't know what the deal was. I worked in executive protection detail not long ago, and there were some bodyguards as a part of the team.
Yeah.
And bodyguards are not executive protection
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Executive protection agents blend in. They go
Yeah.
gray man most of the time, depending on what the mission is.
Yeah.
But some bodyguards showed a bodyguard is different. A bodyguard's usually a meathead,
Yeah. Okay.
a big meathead, right? And they're
Thanks. I
not
was a
part of the
bodyguard
training.
once, so that's nice of you.
Well, if the shoe fits.
We called it executive protection, but no, I was for sure a bodyguard.
But they stand really close and just walk around like celebrities and stuff. Like you can tell who's well trained and who's not.
Yeah.
But they were wearing, a lot of them were wearing trench coats on a summer day. It was literally the 4th of July. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
God bless them. They're there, they're doing a job, whatever. They were nice guys. They were super good guys. I liked them, but
Yeah.
come on, bro. Come
Yeah.
on. Let's
Choice of
stop.
clothing. Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that too. If people are dressed in a way that doesn't fit,
Mm-hmm.
even if it isn't like to hide things like a trench coat, but if they just don't fit in, if it's no matter what it is, if it seems unusual
Yeah.
with how they're dressed, that's something just to take note of. And feel free to talk shit about them to the friends that you're with.
Well, it draws attention to it. So I actually I like that advice, to be honest. So an incident that I'm just thinking that came up recently was there was 3 dudes who were caught filming children at a beach in Canada. And when you actually like the guy that went up and approached it on film was like, "What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?" Everybody else is at the beach. Everybody else is in swimsuits. It's a super hot day outside. And these 3 guys are all in their business wear, right? Sitting at like right beside the beach and sitting on a park bench kind of idea. That right away is probably what triggered people to be like, are they on their phone or are they dressed like they're not even here for the beach? So what are they here for? So nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
that's a really good example.
Yeah.
Something I would look for. It seems weird, but it's something that I would look for a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously with executive protection, but less so. But when I was bouncing, I don't know why, but the way a person was dressed,
Yeah.
it was kind of like if they were dressed in a way that was aggressive, or like Kevin said, if it was just unusual, like a business suit in an inappropriate environment. But
Yeah.
if they were dressed in a way that was aggressive, that was kind of a red flag.
Like combat boots versus just running shoes idea, or
I don't know how to describe it.
yeah,
But
aggressive
the vibe,
okay.
the vibe, the message that they were sending with their uniform, their social uniform was oftentimes aggressive.
Something's off. Yeah.
Other things to watch for, like what's their behavior like? Are they on some type of a controlled substance? And obviously that has a big impact on people's behavior, on their level of aggression, even if it wasn't something that they were planning on doing.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be like cot, like you're familiar with cot.
No.
I'll just let the audience look that up.
Okay.
Cot is a drug that's chewed on in specific parts of the world.
Oh, okay. No, yeah.
And terrorists will chew on cot, and they'll be on cot it makes them really aggressive, and it alters their behavior, and
Interesting.
it dulls pain, and it mutes their fear responses in general, and they
Mm.
feel like they're bulletproof.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's a common thing that we see, not an uncommon thing that we see kind of where I live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, making that assessment on whether or not you feel like they're on a controlled substance, and how you feel like that might influence what they're going to do.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
So pre-incident indicators, that's my list.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important, right? Because everybody wants to know, at least in the comment section for my videos, is it feels like everybody wants to know what's going to happen before a fight, right? Like we did a video and it was like three things to watch for before a fight. You know, they adopt a stance, they clench their fist, they clench their jaw, right? They tuck their chin down, whatever, right? Like all those things. And those things to me are very simple. And those things to me are very common sense. But good self defense, as you and I both know, is about preventing anything from taking place before it gets to a point that even an altercation. So, a pre fight indicator in my mind is you're already within 6 to 10 feet. You've already talked to them. Things are already getting aggressive. We're starting to see things. You're actually preparing for combat at this point. Where a pre incident indicator is like way before this happens, right? It's like you said, people talk about situational awareness all the time, but are we actually looking for things, and do we know what to look for? Right? Things, again, like I said, that to you and I seem like common sense. And for whatever reason, that's who the people that we are. But for people that aren't like us, for people that don't think of these things, it's a nice little list or a nice little, podcast or episode that you can listen to and just be like, okay, my eyes are open now and I'm starting to be more aware,
And
right?
practice.
Yes.
And practice.
Yeah.
Practice making those different types of observations wherever you're at. And
Yeah.
who's the suspect, and wherever you're at, who's the suspect. It's just a
Mm,
fun game to play.
yeah.
Where's the cover? Where's the concealment? Where are the exits? Where are the flow
Right.
lines? Where are the avenues of approach?
Yeah.
Just always having this mindset going at all time, but having a nice, soft, comfortable vibe.
Yeah.
So you're not making, you don't have to walk around all weird, and
Yeah. Yeah.
like, just be cool about it. Most people don't even know that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife does.
Yeah.
By the way, it's not uncommon for the people that you're with to be not like you.
Yeah.
You adopt that role as the protector in the group, and they usually don't have as high a level of this conscientiousness is the word.
Yeah.
They're less conscientious, and that's not wrong. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
My wife is a lot less conscientious than me, thank God.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because if she was like me and we were both like this,
Yeah.
and so she's relaxed. And those memes that we see, all those reels on social media where the wife is walking through the mall and she's like, and the
I
husband's
love
like,
those. I love
yeah,
those.
those are hilarious. But I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's kind of like that when
Yeah.
we're switched on. Then
Yeah.
there are some of us who are just always switched on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Unless I'm with a friend who's like, "Hey, you can switch off for a while. I got this." Now they're verbalizing to me. I know they're well trained. I know that I'm in good hands. So yeah, I'm gonna switch off for a while now, sort
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Well, and that was it. Like, I'm glad that you said kind of sort of there, because it was weird when you and I went out for breakfast or it was lunch or whatever, when my plane arrived. It was the very first thing that you did. You're like, oh, I'm going to sit there, please. And I'm like, but I sit there. And you're like, do you have a weapon? And I'm like, no, you get to sit there. So the first time we went out to breakfast, it was weird having my back to the door. It was weird, not having a full
Yeah.
360 and everything. And in that moment, now I think about it, it was actually a great trust building exercise for you and I, right? And for me in particular, because I'm like, I need to trust this guy, right? So I could have sat beside you, but that'd be weird. It'd be like you try to flip a hat or something, right?
I
But
always have to
it
keep,
was
you have
different.
to
It
keep
was
room for the college girls. You gotta keep room for the college girls.
there it is, yeah, right. But it was weird, allowing myself to
Yeah,
kind of just turn that off a little. It
yeah.
wasn't like I turned it off completely, but turning it off a little, right? And then we would go like when the 10 of us went out for lunch, I was like, this is great. Like, I don't have to worry about anything. Normally, I'm the number one protector here. And now, because I don't have concealed carry, I'm less concerned. I'm going to make sure that these guys are the ones and I'm not going to get in the way. Right. And it was a really cool kind of moment for myself, anyways, to be able to turn off that protector a little bit. In Canada with my family and my friends, I'm always number one. Right. But maybe I just got to start hanging around more people that have the same strength that I do. Or I shouldn't say strength, but maybe the confidence that I do.
Yeah, just other people who are in the defender class.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Uh, other this is a kind of a side note, doesn't directly apply to the theme of the conversation today, but
Yeah.
other little things that I'll do, understand that the people that you're around don't think like you do, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll become a little bit more conscientious being around you. It's just not how their mind works. It's not what they are. Doesn't
Mhm.
make them bad or weak. It just means they're not like you.
Yeah.
That's good. That brings a balance to life.
True.
That's healthy.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I'll do, like with my wife, like sometimes she'll like turn on when it's almost too late. She's like, "Hey, are you noticing this?" I'm like, "Yeah, a half an hour ago."
Thanks
But
for catching up. Yeah.
yeah, but I'll say like when we get into the car together to go somewhere,
Mhm.
I'll let her know, "Babe, I'm carrying at the 3 o'clock position,"
Yeah.
and I'll say, "What position am I carrying at?" And
Yeah.
she'll go, 3 o'clock, right? And okay, I've got a tourniquet in my right cargo pocket. Where's my
Yeah.
tourniquet? Right. My wife was a corpsman
Yeah.
in the Navy, and so she's a medic, and she works in surgery every day. So you want to have her around. She's like, in your right cargo pocket. Well, then I'll ask her that 3 times. So that way I'm like, so she knows if I'm incapacitated, she has to get my weapon or my tourniquet,
Yeah.
which is on me at all times.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
knows where it's at.
Yeah.
And I have another thing called a ballistic off body bag if I can't carry on my person.
Yeah.
And it's ballistic, and I have my firearm in there, and it blends. You wouldn't know it. Maybe we'll do a video on that stuff sometime.
Mm.
And it's a tear away. So when you tear away, there are my holsters here, so you can tear and draw.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's body armor too. It's cool.
Nice. That is sweet.
And I keep extra mags and stuff in it as well. And
Yeah.
so I'll have her practice when we get in the car, grabbing the tassel on it and ripping it down, so that she has a rehearsal for how to get that weapon out. Because if you're not doing those rehearsals, I know that might sound kind of over the top, and I think that's fair for someone who thinks that way.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, the world is changing, and we need to change with it.
Yeah.
And Minneapolis, I live 25 minutes outside of Minneapolis, but Minneapolis is, over the last 4 years, has really deteriorated badly.
That's
And
tough.
so I would be making a big mistake if I wasn't a little bit more conscientious
Yeah.
and practicing my executive protection skills
Yeah.
with my own wife, right?
Yeah, for
With
sure.
my own life.
Yeah.
So just some other little tips that I like. There are other things too. She knows where to sit. She knows why.
Yeah.
She knows if I say, "Honey, just calmly," I say, "Just leave now. Just
Yeah.
go."
Yeah.
No matter the best meal of her life, she's going to put her silverware down, and she's going to leave, and she's going to get on the phone with 911. She knows something's up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might walk her out and then come back in, because
Yeah.
I'm not letting innocent people die. That's me. That's the choice that I've made.
Yeah.
But these are the types of things that we can practice with those that we love in a way that's soft
Yep.
and loving and respectful to
Yeah.
them. So I don't know, thoughts on that, Kevin?
It's like you said, it's if we choose to be the sheepdog. I don't really like the word sheepdog because of who it's associated with these days,
I
but
don't like it. I hate it.
yeah, right. But that's why I personally use the word protector, right? Citizen defender in your program is the terminology I use during the IDS class, right? But that's just who we are. And you don't need to be this person. I do feel though that society is trying to push that person and down and push them away,
100%.
right? And if all of the protectors left this world right now, in my personal opinion, criminals would have a heyday, right? We need to, if you feel like you're there,
And
don't
so would
fight that
tyranny.
feeling.
And so would tyranny.
Yeah, well, agreed. Yeah, right.
As I've said before, it's compassionate people who have the capacity for aggression. It's the
Exactly.
defender class who is keeping the world, is holding the line.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
And
it's very important.
that's why they wanted.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
I don't think it means like you have to be an alpha male or you have to have
No,
alpha energy. Like all those buzzwords are trying to, I think, kill, the protectors of this world, right? And you don't need to be a protector to live in society. But for me, if I'm with my family, I know people that are very, let's just say, beta male, that the second that they're with their family, they change who they are. They become a protector, whether they know it or not. But they love their kids so much that they would die for them. I know so many women, I know so many females that would do the exact same thing. Like, that's why, like, mama bear energy is something you don't mess with, right? And
no.
so you're the protector in that moment and you would die for your kids. That's what we're talking about, is just be a little bit more smart, have your head on a swivel a little bit more, be a little bit more aware of things that are taking place, train your family, train your kids, right? Of, hey, like, hey guys, get serious right now, something weird is happening, right? And I use the word weird quite a bit, but it is, to me, is everything is normal right now. Oh, red
No, it's not.
right?
No, it's
Okay,
not.
red flag. Hey guys, like, okay, daddy's not going to talk so much right now. Daddy's busy right now. Daddy's on point right now. Something's going on. So then my partner recognizes something's going on. Like when we were walking in Mexico as a family, I'm like, I'm on, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
and my family needs to know, like, hey, like, dad's not going to engage in huge conversations right now. Inside of the resort, I will. Inside of the resort, I'm loving Kevin like I am within my household. But the second I step out, I choose to play these roles. But I choose because for me, and I'll be 100% honest, is it's fear-based. 100% it is fear-based, but I would rather be fearful and prepared and have an idea of what's going on and looking for these pre-incident indicators so that I can prevent anything bad from happening to my family. If I have to use my physical skills that I spent decades training, I messed up. I was in the wrong. 100%. I did
I,
not do my family service and justice.
I want to reframe some of the language
Please.
out of respect. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd say it's alert based because fear is the opposite. Fear
Mm,
is fear would be if you weren't willing to do it.
nice.
Fear is sticking your head in the sand and pretending like that there's no danger around, right? There's no danger. Everything's going to be okay. No,
Yeah,
you're just on alert.
nice.
That's my opinion.
Oh, I
We're on
love
alert
it.
and we're not paranoid. We're just prepared.
Yeah,
Okay. And when we're prepared, it shows that we care.
yeah,
Okay. The sheepdog isn't paranoid because
yeah,
there are real predators out there,
yeah, yeah.
right? Paranoia is when it's irrational. And
Nice.
this is not irrational. There's a lot of real evidence around us that suggests that we're not, it's very irrational.
Yeah.
And so it's
Love it.
important that because the powers that be have created a stigma around the defender class, and because they know that human beings don't want to be stigmatized. It's the biggest fear that human beings have. So if you can suppress your natural instinct to be, a protector and a defender and someone who will stand up for truth and freedom and what is right and what is innocent, then
Yeah.
that's what they want. They want you to suppress that. And
Yeah.
so I'm here, Kevin and I are here to say, no, we're giving you permission to be bold about what you are.
Yeah.
Just be responsible
Yes.
about it in many ways, and approach it in a way that's palatable and approachable, and know that you're, using the use of force continuum in different capacities, behaviorally as well.
Right. Yeah.
Just keep that soft vibe
Yep.
and know when to harden the vibe when the time is time to harden it.
Yeah.
Did I
Nice.
tell the story about the guy who was at our gate when I was the contractor who was at our gate a couple of weeks ago?
No, no.
I won't go. This is a kind of a longer story, but I won't go too long into it. But
Okay. Yeah.
I was doing yard work on our acreage on our farm, and I had our gate closed out front so I could work around it. And
Okay. Yeah.
we had some work done here, and contractors show up without telling us. Right?
Oh,
They're supposed to tell us, but they don't. They just show up.
okay.
And there was a guy out front of our gate in a truck, and I didn't know who he was, so it got my attention. Right?
Yeah.
So eventually I approached the gate, and he was really pissy with me. He was rolling his window down. How am I supposed to do anything with your gate closed?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, oh, well, there's a red flag.
Yeah. We have two so far.
I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know. Who are you? And
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't owe you any explanations for why my gate's closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got a red flag on behind my gate. He says, well, I'm here to do this and this and this. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were coming. Would you like me to open the gate?
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know, would you like me to break it down with my truck?
Wow. Wow.
When I was standing in front of my gate. So that's the equivalent of pointing a gun at me. That vehicle is a lethal weapon, and he's showing intent.
Yeah.
The harm, that's lethal. That's lethal intent.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the company that he worked for heard about it.
No kidding. Yeah.
And my response was, then I switched on.
Yeah.
Right? I'm always armed.
Yeah.
Always, even on my acreage, because I have stories for things that have happened out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
And I just looked at him very calmly and said, that wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah.
And I could tell he knew, like, even though I said it calmly, he
Yeah.
knew I meant it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So you never know. Like, you never know what's going to happen when.
Yeah.
But when you're switched on and you know what is the appropriate way for you to conduct yourself as a deterrent, your presence
Yeah.
as your presence as your defense. And he knew right away, oh,
Yeah.
I just crossed the line big time.
Yeah. 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 Well, and sometimes I think it's very important for people to, I don't want to use the word rude, because now you're making me question all my words, which is fantastic. That's why I love our conversations, right? Because fear to alert, beautiful. Makes so much sense psychologically, and we can get into that stuff in another episode. But I think there's that balance there, right? Of like,
Yes.
I don't want to be rude, but I have to be able to stand my ground. And
yes.
I like that you said be crisp, but
And
also
neutral.
don't instigate, right? Because you
Don't
just told
escalate.
him the truth. You gave him a
Don't
factual
escalate.
response, right? Of that wouldn't be a good idea. And then he goes, and now he's starting to process the information, be like, what does he mean by that? Oh, fuck. Right? This guy's legit. He's confident, he's calm, he's crisp. He's making me think about my actions. I've had a bad day and I'm being an asshole to him, and he wasn't an asshole to me, but he was also very confident within himself. Right?
And set a firm boundary.
Nice.
It's kind of like too, it's like, don't be careful, be competent.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Man.
Right?
Golden. Love it. I love stories, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was I think stories are a way for at least my brain to like walk into that step, into your shoes, and be like, man, what would I have done there? Because in my head I was like, I'd be, hey man, like, you possibly just threatened me, like, I need you to go. Like, I don't care if you're here for work or not. Leave my premises, please. right? Please, there's the Canadian, right? Right?
Yeah, there were no pleases and thank yous.
No kidding. No kidding. Yeah. But that's good because now for me, just so the audience knows, like, I'm going to take that story and I'm going to think about all these different possibilities that could happen. And I'm going to run through those scenarios in my mind. Typically, I do it when I can't sleep at night, and maybe I can't sleep because I'm doing this, right? But it's like, those are the times where my mental training kicks in. Those are the times where it's like, what would I do in that scenario? And that's why I think those scenarios and why role playing and everything that we talked about today are so important, because it was just going to make you think about things. I love when a student goes, like, I'm teaching a self-defense class or the IDS class. I'm like, this is scenario, go. What would you guys do? And they're all like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, the quiet kid out of the corner is like, I would say this. And he says it so calmly. I'm like, bro, I didn't know you were like that. That was awesome. That was the best thing you could have said. Let's talk about why that was a good thing. And everybody else who were deer in the
Yeah.
headlights, they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, that was cool. Right. It was like
Yeah,
snow at our
we
class.
when we rehearse these things, we keep them in our hip pocket.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're there because we rehearse them so often, and so we know how to meet force with force, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, he wouldn't have been able to knock down our gate without several tries with his truck.
Yeah, you have
Even
a
if
pretty
even if
badass gate. Yeah.
he wouldn't have been able to do that, it wouldn't have
Yeah.
gone easily for him. And then
Yeah.
other measures that may have been taken too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, think about that. Like, the way that our gate is designed to send a message. Could you tell when you saw it?
Oh yeah,
It's
for
not
sure.
over
I
the
knew
top,
right
but
away.
when
Yeah.
I was with the designer of our gate, I'm like, this is what I want the message to say.
Yeah. Nice.
And then they gave me some different examples. I'm like, that's the one right there.
That's
So
it.
it fits the vibe of our property. Vibe's the word of the day, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Yeah.
It fits the vibe of our property, but it sends a message too that says this is a boundary that you do not cross.
It's a fuck around and find out gate.
Yeah, and the college girls love it.
Oh God. Oh, God. There you go. We're giving off all the vibes today.
I literally say,
college girls, stay far away from Todd, even though resist the urge.
Listen, there's a sign outside of my property that says no soliciting on these premises, and then there's a sign on my property that says no college girls coming onto Todd on these premises. Violators will be prosecuted.
Oh God, yeah. And your wife is sitting on the porch with a shotgun. And
No, she's rolling her eyes and laughing at me. That's what she's doing.
For sure she is.
She's like, you can have him.
Oh, too awesome. Well, that was awesome. I love it. I love that this is real talk. This is real self-defense. This isn't your weekend course of, hey, do this and hiya and chop and stop, get away and palm strike. It's
no, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get away. Do it now.
Yeah, do it now. I'm holding my
Do it
ground.
now.
Right?
Oh, mama bear. Mama bear. Yeah. Okay.
I just posted that video today. So make sure you guys check it out. It's so ridiculous. Red man suits are a big pet peeve of mine. But anyway.
I saw that.
But this is real self-defense, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is stuff that we're very passionate about, and this is stuff that you can easily add into your martial arts training. You don't need to come train with Todd and I, although you should, right? Because this is the realism of it, right? And if you can't, and your martial arts instructor, Sifu sensei, whatever they are, won't let you, cool, don't. But while you go home, play with your kids, right? Role play with your kids, right? Be the bully, right? Like there's lots of little things that you guys can be doing to practice at home to make this a part of your everyday life, right? I related it this way to a group that I had the other day, and it really clicked for them to whatever reason. So I wanted to click to you. if you have a very bad diet right now and you're eating like shit and you're eating too much sugar and you're drinking too much alcohol and your life is just deteriorating, going down, you have fallen into bad habits. That's it. It's not like at one point you were just like, this is what we do, right? It's these bad habits have just taken over. What we want you to do for your self-defense and your situational awareness and becoming a protector or being a protector is to allow these habits to just slowly creep into your everyday lifestyle to a point that you don't even know that they're happening anymore. I'm on autopilot. My family's on autopilot. We've done this for long enough now that we don't have to think about these things. Yep. Right. And that's all we're asking you to do is just add in these little tidbits every day so that they don't become a burden. So when you're changing your diet, it's the same ideas. You don't reach for the sugar anymore. You reach for the fruit, right? Or you don't reach for the alcoholic drink when you can have, you know, a glass of water or tea or something like that.
We don't break habits. We don't break habits. We replace them.
Nice. Beautiful.
And we do that through slow, gradual, permanent change.
Nice. Nice.
We don't break habits, we replace them.
Yeah.
And we do that through slow, gradual, permanent change. Maybe it's at first, like Kevin said, it's 2%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I have a rule, like for my cheat meals, I have 10%. Like 1 out of every 10 meals, I have a cheat meal, because for me, if I don't have a little, I have a lot. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, that's usually it's like a Saturday.
Yeah.
I'll have a cheat meal or two on a Saturday, 10%. So you don't have to get all freaky crazy about it. Just like, okay, out of 3 meals a day, that means out of this many days, here's a cheat meal that I can have, or have a little treat.
Yeah.
But you can start smaller than that. You can start with 2% and then 5%, then 7, then 10, or whatever, right?
Yeah. And
you can do it gradually that way. And the research shows that that's really the most effective way to go about it. It isn't like you're not jumping on the wagon.
Yeah.
Because if you go on the wagon, you can fall off the wagon, right? So as Kevin said, slowly, gradually weave the principles of a healthy lifestyle into the fabric of your life. So now it just is a part of that. It's a part of that fabric.
Exactly.
That's the idea. And your health and your fitness, it is such a big deal when it comes to your self-defense. We should probably do a whole show just on that.
Yeah, I would love that for sure. I would love that. And I think it's important that, when we're talking about self-defense and we're talking about situational awareness, we're talking about pre-fight indicators, and we're talking about pre-incident indicators. These are terminologies, and this is terminology, and these are words that a lot of people just don't even know about, right? And I think the more that we can just enlighten this world into an idea of like, hey, like, let's actually become hard targets in this world. Let's make
and not pretend like we are. Sticking a feather up your butt doesn't make you a chicken. Seriously, like
what? I've never heard that. Oh
yeah. So just because you dabble in something doesn't mean that's what you are.
Yeah.
You are what you do, right? Oh, look, I splashed around in the water, so now I'm, Michael Phelps. But that's how people think.
Yeah.
Oh, I took a self-defense class once, and I saw this video. That's sticking a feather up your butt and calling yourself a chicken. No. Listen, guys, you're either trained or you're untrained. That's simple.
Yeah.
That's simple.
It's very
true. Either you're competent, or you're incompetent. And unfortunately, confidence and competence isn't always the same thing.
Yeah.
And what people oftentimes are selling online is confidence. They're not selling competence.
Yes.
They're selling dopamine.
Yeah.
They're selling feel good.
Yeah.
They're not selling the weight and the reality of what this is really about.
Exactly. And I think that's it. I'm going to selfless plug here though, but if you buy my course, right, go to calgarygongfu.com or go to budobrothers.com, right, check out the Knife Defense course on my website, check out my course and the Budo Brothers course on their website. You will see what we're talking about, right? You will see the differences, right? You will see in Todd's programs everything that he has, right? It's way different. It's way different. It's something different in this world, guys. It's giving you real options, real self-defense strategies, right? And yes, there's techniques as well, so you can train physically at home and help you get more fit, right? But these things are super important. And that's why we do this, right? And because we care, right? We want you guys to be safe out there. And we actually want to make this world a safer place. So make sure to check out Todd's stuff at
For home training, we have an online subscription program with 18 full-length courses, more and more courses being added all the time.
nice.
It's idscitizendefender.com. If you're interested in becoming an affiliate and an instructor affiliate, this is ids.com. And then our social media, you can check out Todd Fossey on social media, and also Integrative Defense Strategies on pretty much all social media. And you can check out, we're always putting out content, educational and training content for public consumption all the time, but in a way that's authentic.
Yeah.
Not
It really is.
sensationalized bullshit, but the real deal. And I know that everyone sells their stuff as the real deal, but it's not. It's sensationalized, gimmicky stuff that's geared for marketing purposes primarily. We don't care about that. We care about saving your life and keeping you out of prison.
Yeah.
End of conversation.
Boom. That's why we do it. That's why we appreciate you guys watching. So make sure to like and subscribe. Check out all of our channels on all of our socials, right? You guys know what you're doing. Thanks for watching. You guys take care. Thanks so much, Todd. We'll see you soon.